The classic, kid ain't mine. My wife and I have been married for about 4 years and together for almost 8. We started out as me 21 and her almost 18. Our relationship started out not liking each other at all. We were both in relationships and worked together. Both of our relationships were not happy ones, and we ended up finding friendship in each other. It quickly turned into a desire to be around each other and connect emotionally. We ended up leaving our others and got together. A few days into our separate breakup, she slept with her ex and a few months later found out she was pregnant. We knew it wasn't mine because we didn't sleep together for a while in the beginning. I don't fault her for this anymore. She was just under 18 and had a background of partying and promiscuity. I dealt with the news by jumping headfirst into supporting her and being there for her. I didn't deal with any issues that I would have with the situation, and that was a mistake because it led to a lot of pent-up anger and resentment after our son was born. Other dad wants nothing to do with him, and he's now 6 and I call him as my own. She stayed with me through the anger and how I took it out on her emotionally, which I know now is wrong. In the course of our time together, we've had a son of our own and bought a house. Somewhere in this time I grew distant from her emotionally and physically. I withdrew into myself and didn't notice it. I just went to work and came home. That spark, we had been there and I was too lazy or oblivious to see it. My wife didn't help the situation by pretending she was still happy and that nothing was wrong, so I didn't do anything to fix a problem that I didn't see. We've always had non-disposable income and had to struggle to make things work out. Recently our home was foreclosed and we had to move. It ended up working out for our situation because we're renting a home closer to our places of work and our oldest can begin kindergarten in the town we wanted. Our relationship was beginning to experience problems that we were beginning to discuss before we had to move, like dealing with the emotional withdrawal. But when we moved here, we got the internet, and within 2 weeks of getting the internet is when the problem started. I had trust issues with my wife that I had worked on by myself and was at the point where I was okay with things. I used to make comments to her when she got back from a night out, which either of us hardly do because we work opposite shifts to save money on daycare, and our time is spent with the kids. I ended up seeing the history was open one day, which I'd noticed before but never investigated even though I felt I should, just scrolling through the history. Somehow one of the links I clicked on went right into her account and I saw what it was really all about. It was a dating service and I was in her personal ad looking for love. I was devastated with this and called her at work just going crazy. She even tried to deny it at first until I started reading back information to her. We had many long talks over the next week or so. Some were healing and others were vent sessions. We talked about why we'd gotten to the point where she was looking around for companionship, and I found she was talking to a guy already and into how he made her feel. She deleted her account and emailed everyone she talked to leave her alone to try and start getting my trust back. We are trying to reignite what we once had and I thought we were doing a good job at it. I'm not a social person by nature and have been forcing myself into situations to branch myself out emotionally and to make her happy. I've had bad days but had strung a week or so of good days together without the all-consuming bad day happening. Then I found out that she had searched for this guy she had contacted before on MySpace and was sent back down because I'd opened myself up to her and felt that she was just betraying my attempt at trusting her. I found out about other little lies that she was telling about things but nothing too big. We ended up not sleeping in the same bed over this last thing, and she didn't talk to me about it. I emailed her just a long ramble of my feelings and she emailed me back that she isn't happy and she doesn't know why. She wants to leave me, but she loves me, and then she flops to not wanting to leave me. She said that the reconnecting time we'd spent seemed forced to her even though I thought we were making some real progress on that because I felt things starting to spark back up and I thought she'd felt the same. We're going to stay up and talk tonight when she gets home from work and talk things out. I really don't know what to do. I feel betrayed and lost. I don't want to live without her, but I don't know if I can get past this. We've been talking that maybe divorce or separation might be the way to go. I wish we could do counseling, but we can't afford to see anyone and I'd much rather sit with someone than do something online that might be free. I want this to work and I think she does too. But I'm really confused with this whole thing and what I should do. I also want to apologize for the length of this. I tend to ramble when I'm explaining things, as you can see, and hope that someone can give me some unbiased advice. Our friends and family are very side-oriented. Her and I talked for 4 hours last night and got a lot out about what is going on. She is basically where I was with her emotions, and I am on my way to getting better. She said she is having a hard time feeling anything right now, and not just with us. She's having a hard time connecting with our kids, people she works with, and even some of her longtime friends. Some of this had to do with her thinking I wasn't committed to changing myself because I've said many times before I would, and then a few weeks into it I'd regress. I think I convinced her about my sincerity this time though, because this was one of those epiphany types of moments for me. I told her that I'd support her and help her work out whatever is wrong with her. I don't know if she has some type of mental problem, her dad had schizophrenia, or if she's just having a hard time coping with all the change that is going on. She felt like I was forcing myself to try and love her again, but that wasn't the case. I really hope this is one of those best-case scenario type of things, because at our core we're a pretty strong couple. But we just have some big issues we need to tackle. Half a year later, we talked for days and she said she didn't want to be with me anymore, but that if I changed some things that we could see where things were. We worked things out and got to a place where we seemed happy and working on us again. Then a day I have been afraid of since learning how cruel the world can be becoming. We were working on things and then she told me that for the last month and a half she'd been seeing someone else and had cheated on me with this guy. She met him at a bar and he didn't care that she was married and we had 2 kids. She began to dump on me all the things she had been lying about to me the last few months. And we decided to separate. The more we talk, the more it seems like she wants to try dating me again and see where that goes. But my main problem is that she still wants to see this other guy. Even though she's told me that she doesn't see it going anywhere. He is very serious about her. He lived in Florida and passed up a chance to move back because of her. But I don't know if she's telling us both the same thing. I love her with everything I am. She helped me rediscover things I love about me and I want things to work out between us. I hear a lot of contradictory things come from her and I have serious bouts of anger and sadness that I can't control. It's all internal, but I'm afraid if it starts to spill over. I can't afford therapy because I'd love to try, but I don't know how to deal with any of this. She isn't just my wife. She's my best friend and we only have each other to talk to about all of this. Oh, and we are stuck in a lease and still live together. Kind of important information. I haven't actually moved out yet, but it will happen. Not just because we decided to, but because of everything that's happened. I need to, just how I had lost contact with us as a couple and that I was not who I used to be when we met. But I did change that. It was an enlightening moment when I did, but the changing that I did was apparently only for myself because she didn't change anything about what she was doing. She escalated her behavior to where we are now. I don't understand why it went this way and what happened to the woman that I fell in love with. Or why she tells me she hopes we can work things out and that she loves no one more than she loves me, while at the same time telling me she won't stop seeing this guy and that she really likes him. My emotions are so all over the place that I can't get anything straight. I know living together is a bad idea for working things out or even with just moving on, but it's the only option we have for at least a few more weeks. I like getting other opinions on situations is all. She isn't working right now and I'm supporting her and my 2 boys on my paycheck. Which is why I can't afford counseling right now. But I do agree that I need to see a professional, and I didn't need to get angry to separate from her. Once the affair happened, that was enough. I can't stay around with that kind of knowledge in my head. The last week or 2 have been pretty good for us. She seems to be wanting to be honest with me about whatever she can and trying to connect and bond more with me. We both agree that separating is the best thing, but I truly believe that she's trying to get us to a better place before I move out so we can try and reconcile in the future. Does it seem true to anyone else? Because my confusion level throughout all of this has been very high. Weeks later, wife doesn't want to be with me right now. She was already seeing someone else. We're separating. We still live together because she isn't working now. 2 kids together. I still love her, too much I'm told. So, the new development now is that she's pregnant. I know, crazy right. Not only that, but she doesn't know if me or the is the father. We haven't had a conception date confirmed yet, but the chance is there that it's not mine. If the child isn't mine, then I'm completely out for good. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. And she knows this and it scares her because she wants to keep the option of us reconciling later there. I'm still moving out when we get our finances a little more under control. But what in the holy hell am I supposed to do with this now? She told me that she's not sure if she wants to keep the baby if it isn't my child, because she doesn't want a kid with this guy at all. Yeah, wrap it up then, right? But also because he's not from the state we live in and she thinks he'll try to bolt back to his home state when the child is born. He's already told her that if the child isn't his, then he wants nothing to do with her, and if it is, then he wants custody and she can see the child if he needs her to. What did I do to deserve this and what should I do now? Nothing is logical at all right now. Nothing makes sense and makes sense at the same time. It would be so much easier if I didn't love her so much. Now she's fighting with this guy because he told her that she's selfish and demanded she get an abortion. The majority of my close friends have asked why I'm still subjecting myself to this and why haven't I broken the door down to throw her out of it. But emotion does play a huge part in this. I was one of those guys who said, oh, if this ever happens to me, but you're right. You can't really say one way or the other until you are confronted with the situation. Obviously, when I was confronted with it, I did the opposite of what I always said I'd do. Hell, So did she, because she always said that if it ever came to infidelity, she'd talk to me about it before she left, and that she'd never do it while still in our relationship. The thing that is getting me now is mostly about the pregnancy, because even if it's not mine, she's still my best friend and I'll still be there to help her through it. But I don't know how to deal with that emotionally. And God, if it is mine, how am I supposed to deal with moving out of the house from my pregnant wife who doesn't want to be with me and who I love still? Sometimes life is just terrible. The way she's been acting around me lately, it seems as if she has had her wake-up call. She hasn't said out loud that she wants to leave the other guy yet, but she calls him a psycho among other names to me. I hope it is mine though, just for the fact that she is a great mom and I enjoy having children with her. Also, it would complicate our lives and our other boys' lives much less to not have to deal with something like this. I also can't not be her best friend. I told her that at the end of the day she will at least have that from me, and I also said that you never know about the future and that maybe if I do decide to not get back with her, 10 years or so down the road we might both be in a positive enough place to try again. She cried when I said that. She does love and care about me, but not the way she needs to right now to pursue a positive marriage. I know this, and she knows that I'm leaving no matter what, for my own mental health. It's just complicating things more internally for me with this pregnancy thing. She's going to go to the doctor soon to get her conception date, and hopefully that will bring us some good news. We don't have the best of luck, and I think maybe the powers that be owe us just this one time. Another addition to my backstory is that my 6-year-old isn't my biological child. She got pregnant a few days before we started seeing each other when she was 17. I had a lot of mental problems with this after he was born, and that started her mental, emotional decline in our marriage. I don't want to seem blameless in all of this, but for better or worse, right, it took me a while, but I got through it and love that boy just the same as I do of my own flesh. She just didn't feel the same when I finally came around. I told her that I've raised one child that isn't mine, under completely different circumstances. But I can't do it again, especially under these ones. We've done some research and we can have a paternity test done between 8 to 12 weeks. So once we have a conception date and find out how far along she really is, then we can have some questions answered. I know it has its risks, but this is something that needs to be done. I'm still moving out once then can get a little more financially set for us, but I'm still going to be there to support her through this pregnancy because she doesn't need to be alone through something like this and needs at least one person in her corner. And unless I am there for her, she won't have anyone. All of this really came to a head when she lost her job. I don't know if she started to feel completely worthless or what, but that's when things started to get to where they are now. She never finished high school because her dad was sent to prison and she had to start working to live on her own and pay the bills. Her mom left when she was 2 and has just recently contacted her to see if they can mend things a little bit. This happened after the affair and didn't affect anything with that. Yeah. I hate what she's done, but she has been through a lot here lately and I can't just wash my hands of her completely. I've told her many times it would just be easier to hate her and tell her to go take a flying leap, but I just can't feel that and don't know if I ever will be able to. Right now would be the time I would be starting to feel that, right? And in my head, if I don't have that feeling now, then I won't have it later. Does it sound right? I don't mean pay for things for her and this baby. I just mean that I will be there for her as a friend. If she needs someone to talk to or go with her to an appointment, I will do that. I am in no way going to pay for her to take care of someone else's kid. I will do everything I can for my own, but I refuse to help her financially for that situation. She has been doing her best to be as honest as she can with me lately. She tells me things she doesn't want to say and I don't want to hear. She hasn't talked to the OM in over a week. They had a blowout when she told him she was pregnant and it might be his kid. He's 31, career-driven, and very self-absorbed, so he's very much not happy with it. He told her that she either needs to give him the kid or have an abortion. When she told him it would be selfish to have an abortion, he said he hopes she has a miscarriage because she is just ruining other people's lives, and that's not fair to him. I know, the same guy who had no problem helping to ruin my life is saying this. Sorry, had to go with that feeling. So now her demeanor towards me has changed 100%. She wants to cuddle and be close to me. We still regularly bond together and say we love each other. Hell, we talk better and seem to bond better now than ever before. And she even told me tonight that she got a personal ringtone for me on her phone. I don't want this message to get twisted up because I am not dedicating myself emotionally anymore to her. I told her that I am plateauing the way I feel because if I invest more into her than I already am, then this will just devastate me more in the long run. And I'm grateful that I've realized that much, and I will be out if this is not my child. I told her that maybe 10 years down the road we'd be in a place to reconcile. But that wasn't even a given. She was very upset about that and saddened deeply when I said it. I don't know. but I have a very strong feeling that this change in demeanor is due to buyer's remorse, so to speak. Her option has fallen through and everything she was working towards moving forward or past with has crumbled around her, and she needs to fall back on things to feel better. I'm not dumb and I know what's going on, but I still can help but feel happy to see some things like they used to be and feel positive about where we can go. She still knows I'm leaving and still thinks that it'd be the best thing for us because she knows I need to get away from all of this craziness. The ringtone thing broke me down mentally for a little bit, but for the most part I feel like I am making good progress with how I feel and think about what's going on. I feel like I'm having many moments of clarity, and this site is helping me out immensely. Just with saying things I can't say to her or my friends, and also having people respond who have been in similar situation or actually know how to help someone in need. So, a little status update on me. Just found out through some internet digging, and I didn't have to look hard, that the affair my wife had has become affairs, not singular. So, this is probably the last straw for me. My mindset is terrible right now and my hatred and anger for this woman is indescribable. She was sleeping with an ex-boyfriend that was her first love and found out she was meeting a guy she met on the internet too. I don't know if that is everything or if there's more, I don't know. But really, how much more do I need to know? Now I wonder how many people the father of this baby could be instead of just me. God help me. Apparently, she had her first affair with her ex 2 years ago, but that was the only time they got together. I think she realized it was a mistake to open anything back up with him. The hardest thing right now is after I confronted her about all of this, she sobbed and broke down about how I didn't deserve any of this because I am too good for someone like her, and that she is so regretful of everything she's done because she doesn't want to lose me, and this has ended her mind. She said she didn't tell me about any of this before because she knew that I would tell her to duck off and she didn't want that. But for some reason I always seem to find things out. I really didn't think I could hurt any more than I have been, but to see in print about how much she enjoyed sleeping with someone else is terrible. She had supposedly committed to me completely 2 months ago, and I read this log from a month ago. She was even putting out the idea of meeting up with this guy again. Found out this guy drove to the area in May and they had a good time at the hotel. I think she finally had her epiphany though, because when she was breaking down and telling me how she felt, I heard the truth behind her words this time. And it made me realize that whenever she spoke before, I didn't really hear any honesty behind what she was saying. I really wish we had a second car so I could move out, because this has just made things twice as hard and even more painful. My wife and I have been talking a lot and are still in agreement that we are separating. I already have a place to live lined up and she's working on hers. My boys are going to stay with her because I am going to be moving in with my dad so I can get myself debt-free and clear. He also recently went through divorcing my mom and doesn't have the kind of room to house 2 little boys anyway. I think it's the best living arrangement considering. My wife found out that she isn't as far along as they had originally set for her, which means the odds of this child being mine have increased exponentially. I am happy for this news because I want my boys to be affected the least amount as possible by all of this. We talked last night and decided that we are going to work things out. She truly seems like she wants to be with me in life and only me. She hates what she's done and expresses to me the sorrow, guilt, and shame she feels for what's happened. The hardest thing about all of this is that I finally have the woman right in front of me that I fell in love with and who I've been waiting to have back for a long time now. And I don't know if I'm in a place to fully make a go at this. We are agreed to take this slow and just see where it goes. She told me that I have to work out my problems before we can be any kind of official. She doesn't want to feel like either of us is halfway into our relationship because that's how things fell apart in the first place, which I agree with. I am really debating trying to work things out. But the baby will be a problem if I'm found to not be the father. My wife sat me down yesterday and told me she just found out that she has chlamydia. So now I probably do too. Yay for me and my rotten luck. I am trying to look at this as positively as possible. I could have something worse than this, but I do not. I found out my test results for chlamydia came back negative, which was great. My antibodies are great, I guess. I still had to get treated, and for all my brothers out there who've had to go through that, I feel your pain. My wife and I have spent the last 3 months in serious dialogue about the direction of our lives. She wants to try counseling now, something she was very against before, and she's gotten rid of every internet thing aside from Facebook, and those were never a problem in the first place. She has cut the other guy out too. She contacted him about him giving her STD, but she said she doesn't need to talk to him again unless the baby turns out to be his. She told me she did all of this for her more than me because she doesn't need any of those things in her life, and she also said she doesn't want any of it either. Thoughts? She didn't treat me badly our whole marriage. It was the opposite, in fact. I was mean and angry towards her for about 6 years of our relationship because I was too immature mentally to deal with starting a relationship with someone and being dad to a child not my own. She showed me undying love and support through this period of time, and I just kept turning her away. She could only help me so much, but I was the one who could turn myself around. She got to a point where she gave up on me and the marriage. She couldn't move out financially without me, so she just moved on in every other way. I don't agree or enjoy how things have happened, but I do understand them. I'm not afraid or too dependent to move on. I just love her. I live with my dad while I take care of some debt, and I see my kids when I want. On the side, we're trying to see if we can work things out. I have been on a few dates and have a few girls interested in me. I chose this path because it's what I want for my life. To clarify, I was the problem for most of our marriage. For about 6 years I was mean and angry towards her. I wasn't mentally mature enough to handle a new relationship and being dad for the first time to a child that wasn't mine. She showed me more patience, love, and support than lots of spouses out there. I just refused it and pushed her away. So, after a lot of emotional damage, she quit the relationship but wasn't financially stable to leave, but she left in every other way. I'm not dependent or afraid to move on. I don't like or agree with how things happened, but I do understand it. I live with my dad now until I can clear up my debt. I've been on a few dates and have a few ladies interested in me. I choose to work things out because I want to. I have opened up to her more than I have even myself and am a much better person with her around, and it's not something I want to give up on without trying to see if it's savable. 3 months. Every waking moment of is a long time to reflect. She isn't holding on because she's pregnant. She's been on her own for a while now and doing fine. We were trying to work things out before we found out she was pregnant. It just threw a major wrench in the works and complicated our intentions even more. She is as open and honest with me as she can be. She has the spark of excitement in her eye about us again, and I admit to a lot of blame for letting it go away. She is trying what she can to earn my trust and full love back, and it will be a long road. But we've both agreed we don't want to rush back into things. Just let things play out. No matter which side of the road we ended up on, then at least we know it's the right one, and not one out of loneliness, desperation, or for the kids. I realize that it may sound like I'm making excuses for her, but I'm just trying to get across the point that I understand the causes of her actions emotionally. I don't agree or fully forgive the infidelity, and neither does she. She acknowledges things spiraled out of control, and she has to live with that guilt. She's burst into tears many times at the drop of a hat because of what she's done to me. I'm sure much of what I say now contradicts my original posts, but that was me processing real time while things were happening. I really hope I don't stay in this section only and can make my way to the reconciliation section, but that's a long way off, if at all, and I'm trying to be rational about my progress as opposed to getting hopeful. This site is a big help for me with just getting things out. And with this baby coming, I'm sure I'll need the crutch more in the near future. Well, I agree that it may seem like I've given her many chances, but it's not like I found out one thing. We tried to work things out, and then she turned around and kept on stepping out. I found out everything after the fact, which I know is terrible, but the manipulation level is a little different to me. I found everything out when she originally told me about her affair, and the rest I found out on my own. When I asked her about the rest, she said she didn't tell me because she thought it would be the kill shot to our working things out. And I agree that I was showing her more love than I was getting. But now she is dedicated and loving and open with me. We talk about the future, our feelings, and our hopes all the time together. We laugh, play, and cry together again. It feels like it used to when we first got together again. And it's nice. My question to everyone now is, how did you mentally cope with someone who wants to move away from the past and build towards a future? Months later. So, my wife and I are separated now. We both reside in different places. My problem now is that I really don't, stay at the other place. I honestly can't remember the last time I did. We both seem to look for an excuse for me to stay here. Even if it's a valid reason, it's still an excuse. The main one is that our second car burned up in a fire and my wife works early in the morning. So it just makes more sense to stay here than to make the trip here at 6 in the morning. We both agree that we need to be separated but are having problems doing that, it seems. We have been having deep talks and have been connecting much more now. Some, not all, of our issues with the infidelities have seemed easier to deal with. I feel like the place we were in was keeping bad memories and vibes in the present, and when we moved it literally felt like a weight was lifted off. Are we holding on out of loneliness or just because we feel like it's time to move on? So, the ultrasound was on Wednesday and she found out that the baby is a boy. I'm kind of conflicted with that because she wanted a girl and so do I, but I still didn't want the risk of her having that girl without me. It's selfish, I know, but it still made me a little happy and made me feel bad about for being happy for it. I tried my best to stay withdrawn during and only have a being there for support role. But then the text said she was only 22 weeks instead of 25 like originally guessed. It threw me for a loop. If that's the case, then this will pretty much lock down that this is mine. Both of us have agreed that paternity of the child guarantees nothing for us one way or the other, but it just feels like we'd have a better shot if it was mine, for obvious reasons. I want to convince myself that I could do it if it wasn't mine, but I really don't think I'm a strong enough person to do that. Time will tell with all of this. I just don't know which way it will go. I think about it and I'm sad. This is hard. I really wish the pregnancy wasn't involved because of how much it complicates things. She's done everything she can to convince me that reconciling has nothing to do with the pregnancy and being alone, but I think anyone would be doubtful of that in this situation. She told me she doesn't want to get her hopes up about me being the dad because she doesn't want to think in a certain track to be derailed later. Trying to keep my chin up is getting easier. But sometimes things are still overwhelming. If you end up taking that bike trip through Iowa, I would definitely take you up on that beer offer. I've grown a bit of a taste for it since this all started. My comment, part 2 ending coming very soon. Let me finish my lunch.